Welcome to We Fixed Real Estate with Fred Glick, your real estate realist, and René Pérez, your real estate savant and budding restaurant critic. Welcome to the show. How's it going, René?
I would wish to critique some food right now. I've been eating too many salads.
Too many salads. Just
Good boy. Proud of you.
It's disgusting. Too healthy.
I mean, you're talking like using those places that mix everything together and have different stuff, or you're talking about just spinach in a bowl?
I've been to those places too, but yeah, spinach in a bowl. And it's like, well, the thing is, it can't be good, right? Like if you add ranch or any dressing, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Anymore. So it's like, I've been having to just eat vegetables. So anyway, I won't talk about vegetables too much.
We are looking fit and healthy.
Yeah.
Last time you were in the parking lot of McCosmics.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to taste that coffee?
Yeah.
No, I will have to wait 2-3 years until they come to the West Coast, which it shouldn't be long. I've seen a lot of articles, McDonald's and their expansion. And if you look at McDonald's stock, it's just.
And they're going to sell franchises.
Yeah.
They're going to make upfront money too, which is franchise fees are the best.
Mm-hmm.
What are you paying for? A few little things, right? The right to buy everything through us. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
It's good. It's great.
Well, this is the first of the year. It's a brand new year, and Fred and Rene are here. I'm trying to give us a quick market update, the pulse of the market as we go into the first couple weeks of 2024.
Yeah, go ahead, René.
I was going to say, like, it's been 3 out of 3 years where every Christmas and every New Year's, we have to be by our computers making you an offer. So
yeah,
that's all for seasonality, right? It's always said like, oh, the winter is where you can get deals, where you can get things for a lower price, where there's no buyers and there's no sellers. But yeah, inventory was hurt this season, but the buyers are still out there. Buyers are still making offers. So that's kind of my kind of commentary there.
I 100% agree with him. And the thing is, though, there are no deals in great neighborhoods. It's not happening.
Well, I think the concept of a deal in the winter break stems from the fact that during the winter, if you're selling your house in that time period, you want to sell because you want to move on, because there's something negative in your life, or be it what it may be, right? But the market understands that you don't want to list on the winter break because it's a bad time to list your home, right? So there's that clashing commentary and that thought process. But the reality is that when someone lists a property in the winter here in the Bay, they probably bought their house back in 1990. And we have a deal right now, just as an example, where the person bought in 1991. They bought for $250,000. It's been 30 years. So odds are they paid that off. They're renting the place. So, I mean, yeah, sure, the rents might be really limited, but they don't need to sell. They can just continue renting it and get that money until they get the price that they want. Mm-hmm. So for the people that do want the deal, well, that whole logic is just not going to come to fruition because the people don't owe anything on the house. So they're not just going to sell it at any quote unquote lowball sale price. So that's where the problem kind of arises.
Yeah. I mean, you have all these wholesalers out there and they scream all over the internet about, hey, you can flip houses and all that. It's such hard work. You have to get so lucky, and the person has to be so desperate or not too bright to just give you their house for $100,000 less than it's worth it. So that's not normal.
Like California coastal, I can see that because I talked to some friends that they're flipping houses in Tennessee. And they're buying $95,000 houses that they can flip for $125,000. It's a whole different game
every day. Yeah, it's a whole different game. It's cheaper labor, cheaper materials, less licensing, and city intervention on because we're the land of regulation. We love it here.
Well, but even in California, really, when you're in the 100 to 300K price range, and because for lack of better, I guess, wording. But because the commissions are so low, because there's just not that much money in play. You look at listings that are 100K, they have horrible pictures. They're not going to have staging. They're not going to be marketed by like a bigger company or a bigger agent that knows a lot of, that has a lot of tenure, that knows how to negotiate. So you see these lower price listings, and I'm talking 120K, right? Where you can flip those because there's just nobody wants them, right? They're the deals that nobody's trying to actually negotiate at a really, ethical, and I don't know.
It is what it is. But that kind of brings us right into what we're going to talk about a little further. That there's an article came out today. Some research agency did a thing that said 49% of the agents, and this is nationwide, sold 0 or 1 house in the last year. So this industry is just full of part-time agents, and you're going to get your one deal. My cousin, I had to give him the listing because my aunt would be really upset with me. And I don't want her to get upset because then she's going to tell my mom, and my mom is going to bug me. So it's like, okay, I just list the house with him, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So that's
that widespread incompetence that the article talks about. That
it's
less than 1 house a year. You can't be fit and ready to fully put it in yourself into that transaction.
Right. And remember this, kids, if you go to, let's say, Century 21 or Coldwell Bank or whatever, he who has no deals and doesn't know what he's doing gets paid the same percentage as someone who knows what they're doing. So if you choose to go that way, negotiate him down or negotiate them to be a lot more reasonable because he doesn't know what he's doing.
And now's your chance to brag a little bit. How much did average? How many do you think Arrivva, you and Rene did last year?
How many deals did we do?
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll add them up and tell you next week. How's that?
Yeah, actually, we're really bad at actually keeping tabs on like how many deals.
Yeah, it's there. It's all in the software. We just
the idea. Well, every house is on your site, and you definitely have a page or two of deals. So it's
well, we can tell you that we don't sell just one property a year. But here's where this article's flawed, and where it's just cheap marketing, because there's a lot of licensed agents, but not all agents, even when they're licensed, actually go on and do sales, right? A lot of agents are just transaction coordinator,
referral agent, transaction coordinator.
Right? And you also have, like, even if you look at, what I sold and what Fred sold, we do have all the listings, put through Fred. And then if I remind the agents, I add myself. I don't care enough to put myself on the listings. But if you look at my profile, it shows like, oh, he sold maybe 3 because those were the only ones that he put me.
Here's the thing. The more you sell, the more you're going to get into the database of recruiters, and recruiters are going to be calling you.
Oh, but sure.
They think you're making 3% on every deal. So it's like, surprise, dude, we have this other marketing system. It ain't going to work at Coldwell Banker. So.
Sure, but that's not the whole point. The whole point is, you have a list of agents that don't have any sales because the way that sales are processed, right?
Yeah.
That's regardless. Plus, a sale is a sale. Even if you get $100,000 or $1,000, there's still that property that has to get on the contract, right? So,
yeah. Oh, and the other thing the article was kind of weird about was that, this is just statistics that they got from NAR and the MLSs. So there could be tons of other agents doing deals or not doing deals. We don't even know about it, for the non-realtors. So they didn't even count us. So, it's crazy. And the other thing is this article was on Inman News, which is just for people inside the real estate industry. So whatever. Moving on.
Just provoking nonetheless. But
exactly.
The thing to concentrate is that high commissions, and with the high commissions, it doesn't necessarily guarantee competency.
There you go. Look at that, Rene. Did you see? We accept the counteroffer. I didn't even see the counteroffer.
Selling homes on the podcast as we speak.
I'm telling you, we have one of our listings that we may have a deal on. So Renee, we'll do that after we get off of this.
You can pause it for a brief moment if you want to close it.
No, it's okay. They got back to us on this. I think it was 3 weeks, maybe we got an offer. These sellers are just they're fun. Let's put it that way. Hey, let me talk about something else. We had a former client that we fired today. Because what he wanted to do is go for a VA loan on a multi-unit property. Okay. Which you can do up to, 100% financing on 4 units. Googled for more details because there are a lot, but then he started asking me, he said, we're going to occupy all 3 units. And the place was currently either occupied by 2 or 3 of the units. And, I talked to the lender, and the lender did not indicate that I had to give the tenants any notice to move as part of this transaction. Like, okay. And I just had to put in something in the agreement indicating that the buyer was going to occupy all 3 units. Then this guy starts asking me, he wants an ROI numbers on renting the 3 units. I said, I can't do that. Ethically, I can't do that. You're applying for a VA loan, which is only for owner occupants. So why are you asking me for these numbers? Maybe 3 years from now, you decide you want to move, then we can do it when we know what the rentals are. And he kept insisting. And I just reminded him, well, he probably didn't know this, but I'll remind everyone, mortgage fraud has a penalty of $1 million fine, up to $1 million fine, and up to 10 years in prison. So I terminated our relationship with him. We're not interested in, whatever he was concocting. Even if he's 100% right and going to live there, he just indicated to me in writing he wanted me to analyze this. And I even said to him, the worst lawyer in law school who graduates knows that there is a pattern here, and it's now a conspiracy. So I'm not getting involved in your conspiracy to defraud the Veterans Administration. And having the Justice Department show up. So kids, here's the lesson. Like they said on South Park, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Don't do mortgage fraud. Mortgage fraud is bad. Okay. There's your headline.
And here's even more commentary. One, another lesson, listen to Renee, because I warned Fred 6 months ago, because this is
it's a little goofy, but I didn't think you'd go to the fraud.
No, it's but you just know, right? Like I'm the person that usually is like, look, you know what? We need to give people chances. We can kind of educate.
Yeah, you are.
It's important, but it's just like this one, like, you know what? I hate losing business. I really do, but this one just has to go. Right. But here's also where, so yes, fraud is wrong, but the other problem is that things do get lost in Slack and text communication sometimes, right? So whether or not he wanted to do fraud, that's one thing. But in this scenario, you're losing a lot of the commentary through text. And that's why phone calls won't ever fully go away, right? Because you get on the phone with them, okay, you get an explanation of, he just wants comps, and comps are important, right? We have another.
He wasn't even asking for sales comps. But he wanted rental analysis.
But that's because of his lack of being able to actually use his words, right? And say what he wanted. He wasn't articulate enough to say, oh, I want comps to know what the full picture of this house is.
No, I disagree, but
sure. But no. But, no, that's important, right? Because this is a 3-unit property, right? What are the odds? As when you do comparables, is this going to be compared to a single family house, or is this going to be a rental property in the long run?
I also asked him, dude, did you do comps? We'll do comps also. I told him that in there. So, but he kept pushing me on the ROI. He wanted the lowest price in the world in an ROI, but
But to get the full context of a property, you do need to have that entire market analysis of the comp, of the rent.
Absolutely.
Without the rental. And sure, like you don't know what it's going to rent 10, 20 years from now, but there is a pattern of rents, right? So it is a fair question to ask. Even if you're going to owner occupy, eventually you won't owner occupy 3 units, right? if it's the grandparents, the parents, and the kids living in a 3-unit property, odds are in 10, 15 years, grandparents are going to die, right? It's me being, a little cynical, but I mean, grandparents can die any day, right? So how much am I going to be, or how much will I be forced into renting a property? Now, that law of renting a property for 1 year is just a general standard.
Show me the law. There is no law.
Yeah, help educate me.
There is no law that says you have to. The law says you have to stay in the property and occupy for a year. What it is with every lender, every lender needs to show intent.
Yes,
that's what they're all talking about. So, let's say you buy a property, you intend on living there, you live there. 6 months later, you get a new job in Kabuki. Can't wait till they figure out what that was on there, on the transcription. And you got to move. And it's the kind of place where, prices are good. So you want to just sell your place and find a new place there because you'll be there on a 10-year contract. You're never coming back to this part of the country. And you have to sell. That's one thing. They understand that. If you are then saying, I'm going to rent it after 6 months, it better be for a darn good reason. And that you're going out of the area. Not that, hey, I'm going to move back to my parents' house and just collect rent, because you did it as fraud. It's all about intent. And it's for lawyers to do. But the point is, there are companies out there that do post-closing audits. Realize that.
Now, is this intent not, this is not exclusive to the VA loan. This is any.
Oh, God, no. This is mortgage. This post-closing. They'll go and do things. They'll send mail to you and to see if you're getting mail at that place. They will research it on the internet. They'll try to look for you and find you and, hey, you have a sign. Hey, I bought my new house and now blah, blah, blah. They have ways. I don't know what the other ways are, but they know they could find ads for the property. They can, here's what I would do. I'd set up a Google alert for the address. And if I see it come up on Trulia for rent in 2 months, then I know, hey, I got a good case. Send it to the lawyers. So everything you guys who are trying to trick the system are thinking about has already been thought about.
Sure,
yes,
there's a difference between tricking the system and wanting to be prepared for what's eventually going to happen. If you have 3 units, you will rent one along the line. Odds are,
maybe, but that's yours now. Oh. And who's going to pay what utilities, and what are the taxes going to be? What is the insurance going to be? I can't predict that. Insurance is crazy right now. I mean, nobody does this. Nobody in the world does this. They just know they'll be able to rent it. Right now, he's got to qualify with all his income to support the entire mortgage. So it's not like he needs the rental income to qualify. So think about that. He can afford it. So the rest of this is gravy. So
what that's
monthly mark. So the ROI doesn't mean anything.
But what does he get out of it? A lower, he gets
an owner-occupied interest rate, and the VA and FHA loans are great rates, better than conventional.
Okay.
That's because you have a VA fee that goes on top of it, and it's insurance. And FHA's got an upfront and a monthly payment for this insurance. But here's the thing:
you also get to get rid of the tenants that are currently there. So when you rent it again, you ask for higher rent prices.
You may or may not get away with that under the LA County rules about emptying a building and getting. He's just asking for it. I mean, somebody.
No. The thing is, when you see this on paper, it's like, yep, this is fraud, right? What I'm just trying to argue is that it is important to know what the current rental market is, to have a full picture of the market, whether you're going to rent it or not. Because you buy it right now, even. Let's say he loses his job, right?
Go look on rent.com and look at rentals. That's all. And just know you'll be able to have it. Rent that one for $1,000. You rent that one for $1,500. Okay. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. You don't do a massive calculation on it. You're going to have all the expenses you've had. You have them paying utilities. That's it. So let's move on.
I think that part of our job is to be full service and to be able to know.
Before we move on,
relevant full service.
Help someone that doesn't quite understand. So given this guy's fraud, so he's going to get a lower interest rate by saying living.
Yeah, back to that.
And then he can eject the tenants maybe and charge them a higher rent. The alternative is he buys it through the normal channels for a multifamily home, which has some nice incentives now. And he may or may not be able to raise the rent.
Let's put it this way. No. Forget about it. Forget everything you just asked, because it doesn't mean anything.
Well, it means something to me because I don't understand.
No. I'm going to explain it a different.
Okay, thank you.
Here's the ballpark. You go and look at this 123 Main Street house, and you see that there's a 3-bedroom unit and 2 1-bedrooms. Okay. I'm making this up. So, you're going to occupy the 3-bedroom, and without any rent coming in, your mortgage payment is $2,000 a month. And your lender says, hey, you can afford $2,000 a month. Okay, great. Everything above that is gravy, meaning you then, if you needed to, the other 2 units total $3,000. They take 75% of that. So it's, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't do math that fast in my head. Anyway, they use that as part of your income, and they add it to your job income and all that to help you qualify. So if you need the rental income, you can get it. That is the way it is normally done. Mm-hmm. If under what he wants to do in owner occupy, he has to buy the property. He gives the tenants the proper state approved notice and time saying he's going to owner occupy. They move, then he owner occupies. If he tries to rent it right away, any of those units, that's absolutely 1,000,000% mortgage fraud. And also, I believe it's in LA that he has to go back and pay the people who left a certain amount of money. He frauded them to get them out. Okay. He's going to be in all kinds of scout trouble. Don't do it, kids.
Go with it.
Mortgage fraud is bad. Don't do mortgage fraud. Okay.
Got it. Well, let's get back to the spring outlook. This is the early winter outlook. I knew that we've heard that going into the new year has been very busy. What are you guys looking? How do you guys see January and February shaping up?
Look at Mavericks. Did you see the height of those waves?
I was
30 to 40 feet.
I used to have a house overlooking Mavericks. I surfed it in the late 90s, back when I was a little more fit.
Stupider.
Oh man, I was dying because I was on vacation going up to Paso Robles, and I knew the people we were with wanted to take the 5. No matter how, I just wanted to convince them to take stuff.
No way.
It was all the time. We would have been able to. It would have been quite the view. But
I would have rented another car and let them go in that one.
Well, it was the first time I'd taken the 5 up, and I now got to see the actual flooding on that Tulare Lake area.
Oh, gee. You got to see flooding as opposed to 30 or 40 foot wave.
Would have taken the 30, 40 foot waves, but I had not. I mean, there's so many plots that are just underwater, but it's weird how nature's retaken it. There's like reeds up I don't know how the reeds grew so quickly, but it all looks like swamplands with cranes, thousands of cranes and pelicans.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Well, and that's a story with living the coast, right? So I think, one of the things that I have been doing for the end of the year that I've been working on for a while now is looking at climate change tools.
Oh yeah.
And see, hey, like, what are all these things that are so cool by the coast? Will they be really cool 20 years from now? Or will I not be able to live there because it's flooded? Right. And I mean, the last weekend, for those of you that are not in California or that were on vacation somewhere, the entire California coast was flooded. Right. Here in San Francisco, Pacifica, there was flood warnings. There was flood warnings in Santa Cruz. There was flood warnings down in SoCal and Ventura. So
Altos got destroyed.
Yeah. So a lot of property damage, right? And why is this important, right? Because a lot of times when Fred and I talk about, how to make an offer on a property, we're always thinking, think long term. You're going to own it long term, right? And well, what happens if long term where you're buying is in a flood zone and you can't sell it because nobody's going to insure it, and it's just devalued just by where it is. So coast, it's beautiful. It's great to live by the coast, and we pay that California tax of living in the coast. But we have to know how to kind of actually know that we're making the right decision. So there's a lot of links out there. They're not that great. I think we're not there at the moment where, there's APIs that actually share a lot of insight as to like how the environment is changing. But one of the sites that I did find was climatealpha.ai. Now, they were the only site where you can actually plug in your address and press enter, and it will make you subscribe somewhere, and it will actually tell you, okay, what is a median time adjusted average, right? Of course, this is not going to be like the only tool that you should use. It doesn't know all the answers, but it will tell you, okay, based on where your house is, you are in a flood zone, you're close to a fire hazard zone. Does it have a high risk of, or a low risk of insurability or homeowners insurance? Is another
big problem right now. Yeah.
Right?
Which is only getting worse.
Yeah. And even in the car industry, actually, it's getting difficult. Costco, one of the new lenders that we haven't spoken about for insurances, Costco used to do home insurance and car insurance. They're no longer accepting new vehicles. So it's getting tougher. Yeah.
What's going on in the car industry? I understand housing.
Well, I think for cars, it's a lot of like, there is a lot of subprime lending, right? So it's kind of like what happened in 2008. So there's that kind of stuff going on, but just in general, right? And insurers just, they don't want that liability.
Also, cars have become like a zero-sum game. I mean, they don't fix them too much anymore. Yeah. I mean, a ding that would have been repaired 20 years ago is now totaled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
With all the electronics.
That's why for me, like, I drive a Tesla. If anything happens to it, it's just an immediate total. And the insurance company has to pay out $30,000 like that. So it's just not worth it. So
where are you getting a Tesla for $30,000?
Well, no, the insurance. Well, you don't, right? But that's what the insurance would pay out, right? But actually, something that people don't realize is that with the tax rebate in California and the federal rebate, you can probably get a Tesla at the entry level for about like $35,000. Yeah. It's not that expensive. People seem to think that a Tesla is like a big luxury, like high-end vehicle. It's kind of not. It's pretty,
Some people just think it's just a nerd car and they won't go anywhere near it. And some people the analog people just won't buy an electric car. I don't understand.
Well, speaking about electric cars and chargers, like a few weeks ago, we talked about elevators, how a lift might be something that's going to raise your property values.
Lift your property values.
Yeah. Will lift your property values. What about installing an electric charger or preparing the home for EV?
Oh, yeah. And you have these bundles now, right, where you can buy a battery pack, install EV. Like you don't have to actually have like a lot of insulation, but you don't have to do a lot of wiring because you can add it as an extension to where your washer and dryer are, right? So
is it 220?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you need a 220 line. It's just a 220 line and a plug, basically, Drew. I mean, it adds value, but it doesn't add value. It's like nice to see if you have your house listed. Hey, this is cool. They have a charger. I don't have to buy one. But you're not going to get a difference in price because
if you have a electric vehicle charger, but the foundation's cracked, you're not going to get right. But if it is like, there's some new builds, right? We're working right now with the builder that's doing like full solar powered, heat resistant, fire resistant homes. And one of the things they're doing is, installing those EV chargers. And going off of that, it's like one other idea is adding things like Starlink, right? Like imagine your house like has the ability to have like good internet connection. That's pretty good, right? So if it has all these nice little gimmicky stuff, it's not going to sell the house, but it still gives you a way to advertise better.
But if it's thought out, and like, for example, we ended up getting 40% more solar than we needed, anticipating increased electric needs. So that probably added a little more value to the house than if we had just done the bare minimum.
No doubt about it. And then it's the other things in the garages. And I always say to do this is, clean the floor, paint the floor, make the floor look pretty, look like there's never been a car on it. Mm-hmm. And so you have that and you have a nice charger with it. That's going to add value. It's something simple.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they'll go, and it's a finished garage or a semi-finished garage.
Yeah.
We add some value.
Well, exactly. I think, let's put it this way, like instead of adding that electric vehicle charger, if you're thinking of adding an electric vehicle charger, instead spend the $3,000 on the floor epoxy, right? Because that's what it's cost, around $3,000 to do a brand.
Make it gorgeous.
Yeah. So
you can always run a 220 line later.
Because I know it's in a budget, right? I mean, that I don't know how much that installation for electric vehicle charging is, but it's bound to be close to what it's going to be to just paint the floor. So I would paint the floor. Don't do the electric vehicle charge if you have to choose.
Okay.
We agree.
Yeah.
For once.
Might just end the episode on you guys agreeing. 2024, the year of harmony.
Yeah. Well, just knowing, just knowing where you're buying, if you're looking long run, right? Because we do often get clients who ask us about, oh, it's in a flood zone, right? And yes, you should be careful about if you're buying in the flood zone, but there's a lot of areas in California that are under a flood zone, and not all flood zones are created equal.
As we found, most of the Central Valley is a flood zone.
Well, yeah. But there's underground streams and tributaries off of different bodies of water that may be going under your house, and in 100 years that will cause a flood. And
the thing is, like, you look at websites like Zillow and Redfin, and they do have a tool that says like, oh, flood zone warning, right? But don't be scared of those homes just because you see that generic label there on the website. You need to do a lot more research and to find out if your house is affected, because it's on that parcel, that section of the house. And that's what a lot of the tools that, I have an article that has a lot of links as to like, what are the available resources for home buyers, right? Where you can actually take a look at your specific house, not just a general area, which is what a lot of these tools that are in Redfin do. So
yeah, they're just like heat mapped. That's all they are. But here's the story, because I've had these situations where somebody's buying, a single family house on 10,000 square feet, and it showed up as flood zone when they pulled up the address. But what they had to do is they get a surveyor to be able to show that the house itself is not in the flood zone. It's part of the land in the back, which even could have a slope 20 feet down. So they're not going to make you pay for flood insurance on a house when the house is never going to flood. So if you have that situation, fight that situation with the lender, and then they will acquiesce, but find out what kind of process they want to be able to do that. But yeah, totally fight it. So there you go. We can end. It's, anticipating more in the rainy season here in California.
Yeah. So far this El Nino, other than the big waves.
The waves have been sick.
But the ski season's been horrible so far. There's like,
Tahoe, I hear, just got hit though.
They finally just got hit, and I think Big Bear just got its first snow for the year.
Yeah, it's too hot in Big Bear.
That's climate change for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, looking forward to a great 2024. We've got a lot of good episodes in store for everyone. We're going to sign off for the day.
There you go. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.